Hello everybody and welcome to our to-do list for the multiplayer project. In this episode, we are going to be doing character appearance communication architecture. If we have time, we might touch a little bit of server-side character creation. There's not a whole lot that I want to do on that side. Essentially, the server doesn't really care about most things in character creation, right? The only thing the server cares about is storing the data, and the client will be the one that interprets that data. But first, we're going to have to figure out how we're going to store the data. And I want to do it in such a way where if I decide, you know what, I want to add in another category here, that's fine. All we'll have to do is parse it out. We won't have to change anything with the way that it is stored or with the way that the system deals with it. So the first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to create a new script. Although I created this in the character select before, I'm going to create a new folder, and I created it in the other project. I'm going to create it here, and it's not going to stay here. We're going to call this characters. That's a capital S at the end. There we go. And we're just going to put that in our scripts folder. So right there. Wonderful. Allow me to just put that in the other project. There we go. Wonderful. And then we're going to create a new C# script here, and this is going to be character appearance. Like that. We'll open that up. And it actually opened for once. I'm slightly shocked. Why is Unity currently yelling at me? There we go. Okay, so we're going to need to do a couple of things here. We are going to need to get rid of this. Yeah, we're going to need to get rid of this. And we're also going to need the character creation screen, which of course is currently completely empty. We're going to put a couple things into this. So this is going to be region public fields. And then we're going to end that region. We're also going to need a region Unity methods here, although we'll come back to that a little bit later. In the public fields, we're going to want a reference to a character appearance type, and this is also going to be used on the actual entities that are in the world. But for now, it'll just be in the character creation screen. So we'll do a public character appearance preview appearance. And this is intended to be like the way that it determines what the character is supposed to look like while you're interacting with the UI, and it shows you a live preview of that. If you've ever made a character before, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. We'll also do a public string UDP test message here. We'll come back to that guy a little bit later. So for now, let's hop over to our character appearance script. And inside of this, we've got a little bit of work to do. The first thing I want to do is I want to put in a system.serializable class down here. And this is just going to go at the bottom. Did I really typo this here? Wow. Okay, so we'll close that and fix this here. And we're going to need to change the name in Unity here because I typoed that. There we go. We have to change the file name. And yes, I'm aware that this causes an issue. So we're now going to do a public class appearance option. Apparently I can't type appearance, which is kind of strange. Inside of this class, this is mostly a data storage class. We're just going to store two things, public string name and public string value. Now we're storing the value as a string here because we don't actually know what type this is going to be. It could be an integer, it could be a float, it could be a string, it could be a Boolean value, it could be almost anything. And we can translate that into a string because this is going to be how we're going to be storing it in the database anyway, is via a string. So that makes things slightly convenient. We're also going to create a constructor for this, the public appearance option, and we're just going to take in string name and string, no, not lock, and string value, like that. And then it's just this.name equals name, and this.value equals value. Wonderful. Okay, so now that we have our appearance option data storage class here, we're going to do a public list appearance option options equals new list of appearance option. There we go. And then we might as well put that in a region, I suppose. Region public fields. There we go. And we will unregion that one. So end region here. Wonderful. And then we're going to make another new region here. This is going to be the messaging region. We'll end that region. And this region here is the region that is going to be responsible for the vast majority of what this class actually does, which is intended to be a, like, interpretation class between our actual class, which does not yet exist, that is going to be updating the meshes and the materials and things like that. Oh, this could also be a color, now that I'm thinking about it. In the appearance option, the value could also be a color, and we can just store that however we want. So that's super convenient. So all we're going to need here is two methods. The first one we're going to do is a public string to UDP message. And we're going to have a string builder here. String builder. And you notice it automatically put in using system.txt. If your IDE does not do that, you will need to use system.txt to use string builder. And we're going to call this string builder SB equals new string builder. Excellent. We will definitely be glad that we are using a string builder for this particular thing. But first, let's talk about what our final message structure here will be for when we're trying to tell the server what we want the character to look like, or for when the server is telling us what the character looks like. So we're going to do an example message here. And this is simply going to be something along the lines of char appearance. We need to make sure to not typo that. And I've kind of based this syntax off of JSON, but it's not exactly that. It's similar, but I've truncated some bits and just made it a little bit less bloated and, in my opinion, a little bit more readable. But that is something that you can determine for yourself. So we are going to, and actually I'm going to change this ever so slightly. We're going to use curly braces here to indicate the beginning and the end of the message. There will be no white space in this message. And all we're going to need to do is do, at this point, a list of comma-separated values. Actually, I'm not going to do comma-separated values. I'm going to do square braces. This is how I implemented it in the other system as well. So I think we do it like this. It adds one additional byte per variable, but I don't think we really care all that much. So for our example message, our first variable that we're going to send is body type equals 1. Oh, and there's potentially a different message type here that I'm not going to go over for right now, but that's just char update. And this is intended to not send the entire thing, but just the things that we're updating. So body type equals 1, or, you know, whatever. We'll just go etc. equals some value. Okay, so, and that's basically what it is. Body type equals 1, head type equals 0. These are just arbitrary values here. And once again, etc. equals some value. And we can just have an arbitrary number of these. And it just has a variable name and a variable value. And that's all it really cares about. It's just about the data storage, and we'll parse it out client side only later on. The server really doesn't care about any of this. But this is just a full-on UDP message that we're doing here. So we're going to ignore the char update. We're probably going to have that later on. And in fact, I'll put that in the to-dos. Char update message for only sending one particular, well, one or more specific change. So that way the server or the client knows, don't overwrite the whole thing. We'll just, in fact, we'll probably implement that here because I think we'll have a little bit of extra time. So we'll just go ahead and do that. So I'll also leave in the char update here, just so that we have that there. And then all we're going to need to do for the full message here is we are going to need to say for int I equals 0, I is less than options.count, I++. And then we're going to say a couple of things here. Specifically, we're going to say sb.append. This is going to be a square brace, like so. And then I'm not concatenating these strings because that kind of defeats the purpose of using a string builder. We're just going to do a series of sb.appends. sb.append. This is going to be, actually not in quotes, this is going to be options I.name. Wonderful. Next up, we're going to say sb.append. This is going to be an equal sign. And then sb.append. This is going to be options I.value. And then sb.append, and that's going to be a closing square bracket. Wonderful. After we're done iterating through that, we're going to say sb.append, and we're just going to append in the closing curly brace. Wonderful. And then we're just going to do return sb.toString. Excellent. So that outputs our UDP message, which is going to look like this. Except that we have not put in the header yet. So we're going to go ahead and do that. This is going to be sb.append, and that is char appearance, which I have to make sure to spell correctly because apparently that is difficult. Excellent. So that's our UDP message there. Outputting it is super simple. Now, we need to be able to take in a message and essentially convert it into this list of appearance options. That's also pretty simple to do. So we're going to do public void from UDP message, and that is going to be string message. Wonderful. If, however, that message doesn't have any content, or if message.substring 014, which is the length of the term char appearance, is not equal to char appearance, then we're just going to debug.log error. And actually, we're going to do this as character appearance from UDP message. I like to just state what class and method it is if for some reason I can't click on it and go to the exact line. So we'll do that, and we will say that this is going to be, this does not appear to be a valid character appearance message. Now, we're not going to currently validate any of the information that is inside of it. We're just going to check the header. If we run into issues later on, we can revisit that. But we're going to say, this looks like a valid header. Let's parse it out. Wonderful. We're going to, first things first, we're going to clear options, because we're going to need a new one. We know for a fact that this is char appearance. So that's great. And we're going to have to, at some point, do an update from UDP message method. That'll probably be a separate method that will do, I suspect. We'll have to alter this to do that. But for now, we're just going to do a from full UDP message, which will clear the options. So, first thing we need to do is we need to make a string array, and we'll just call that str, and that is going to be message.split, and we're going to split this at the opening square bracket. Wonderful. Next, we're going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than the length of the string arrays, I++. We're going to make a new array of string, and this is going to be values equals string I. So the array that we made up here at position I, as we're iterating through, dot split. And we're going to split this again at the equals sign. Next, we're going to say that we're going to create a new appearance option. So appearance option equals new appearance option. And we're going to pass in values 0, which is going to be the name of the option. And we're going to pass in values 1 dot trim, because we want to trim out a couple of characters. There can be a closing square bracket. There can also be a closing curly bracket. So we don't care about either of those right now. I want those to be in the message for purposes of length verification and validation that we're done with the content and things like that. Like we didn't get a truncated string or something. I want these to still be there, but we don't care about it for the purposes of creating the option here. And then we'll just say options.add option. And then that should be it. A rendering object will grab this data and put together, if I can spell, the meshes and materials later. Perfect. So we'll come back to that, and I need a semicolon here. There we go. So that is our character appearance fully done. So we're going to need to work on our character creation screen a little bit. Obviously, we have our preview appearance here and our UDP test message there, but we're going to need a private void start because we need to debug.log, and I want to log out the preview appearance .toUDP message. I want to verify that that is working correctly. And then I want to say preview appearance .from UDP message UDP test message. Wonderful. Now, of course, none of this is set up. So let's do that. Here's our scene right here, and as soon as it compiles, it'll all pop up. Excellent. So the character creation screen does not currently have a character appearance. Let's give it one. We'll just pop a character appearance script in there and tell it about it. And the UDP test message is going to be null for right now, or well, not technically null, just an empty string. But we are going to need to create a few character appearances within this. We are going to create 7 of them. And for right now, we're just going to expand all of these, and we're just going to put these in. This is going to be body type value 0. And I'm just going to have all of these values be slowly incrementing just by 1. So 4, 5, and 6. And that doesn't, strictly speaking, make sense, but for purposes of our testing, it'll be fine. So our head type is equal to 1. And then our body option toggle is equal to 2. Our body option slider is equal to 3. And then our face option toggle is equal to 4. Our face option slider is equal to 5. And finally, our hair type is equal to 6. Wonderful. Now, some of these are categories, and some of these are, because some of these are things that you can only choose one, but some of them are also things that there are multiple options, like, for example, the slider here and the toggle. These are both in the face options, but they are different values. So that's going to be how we're going to have to set that up. And if we run this, it'll complain about the lack of servers, sure. But it'll also output a couple of things. Here's our care appearance, and we can see that this appears to be correctly output. Glorious. And then we can also see that this does not appear to be a valid character appearance message. You don't say. So we're going to copy this message, and we're going to paste it into the UDP test message, and we're just going to change the value of hair type to something silly, like something silly. Excellent. Oh, wait, of course. I need to stop the play, and we'll have to do that again. Something silly, if I can type. Silly. Wonderful. So now when we load that in, it should automatically change our character appearance in the data structure to something silly. And if we go to the character creation screen, we can see we got an index was outside the bounds of the array here. Where did that come from? I had this pop up previously. How did I fix this? because I should have already fixed this. This is causing an error in this. Right. I know what the problem was. So the problem is that we're splitting this on equal signs, but in our first string here, because we're splitting this, okay, we're splitting this on the square brackets, right? So if we come up here, our first iteration goes to here, char appearance. That's not very useful because there's no equal sign in that. So this is going to return only one string. So there is no values 1, there's only a value 0. And so that means that we need to start it for I equals 1. And that should solve that issue. So now if we run this again, we should see that we go in here, hair type is now set to something silly. Wonderful. So we now have access to this data. And that is about as far as I got. So from here, I'm kind of winging it. But let's pop into here and let's do a public void update from UDP message. This will be string message. And we'll also put in a public void parse UDP message. String message. Okay. And I also want to make these private. And there's a reason for that. I don't want people calling these, or more specifically, I don't want myself calling these. I want myself to call parse UDP message. Now that'll create an issue over here because we'll need to pass in parse UDP message. Wonderful. So the first thing that I'd like to do is I'd like to say string header equals message.split, and we will go out to the first instance of a curly brace, and then we want 0 in the array. And this needs to be single quotes. There we go. Excellent. So that gets us our header. We can actually get rid of this section here. We don't need to verify that it's equal to char appearance anymore, because that's going to be done up here. We can actually copy this, though, and then this would be, instead of from UDP message, this would be update from UDP message. Excellent. And then here, we're going to say if header equals, if it equals char appearance, then we're going to do from UDP message, message. Otherwise, we're going to say if header equals... Technically, we don't even need this anymore, because this will not be called unless... That would not be called unless we've already verified this. So if header now equals char update, then we are going to say from UDP message, and this is going to be... This needs to be update from UDP message. And we are going to pass in message at this point. Wonderful. So this will now parse it based on those two things, whether it's in appearance or in update. Okay, and then we will then say, after each one of these, we're going to return, because we don't need to do anything else after we've run that. But if we get down here, then we will just say debug.log error. At this point, we will say that the error is character appearance, and I typoed it again, character appearance dot parse UDP message, and the actual message is going to be something along the lines of received header was invalid. Okay, there we go. So for the actual update, we want to do basically the same thing. We already verified that that header is done, so we will take options.clear. We're not actually going to clear it. We'll just copy in this string split, and then we will go into here. So it'd be slightly easier if we were storing it as a dictionary, but Unity doesn't like dictionaries in the inspector. So this is going to be interesting. So we get our string values, and I guess we're going to have to iterate through the full list. So for int j equals 0, j is less than, this will need to be options.count j++. And now we're going to need to say if options j.name equals values 0, then we are going to simply say options j.value equals values1.trim, and we're going to want to trim off these same bits, so I'm just going to copy that in like that, and then we're going to want to break. We don't need to iterate through the rest of the list at that point. Okay. And once again, that should be it. A rendering object will grab this data and put together the meshes and materials later. So let's test that. We already know that this output is working fine. So to test that, we're just going to go into the character creation screen here, and we're going to change this from char appearance to char update. And we're just going to update the body type here. So we'll just get that to the curly brace there. Wonderful. And we'll set the body type. Actually, let's not do body type. Let's do something in the middle here, like body option toggle. And we'll set this to, say, false. Okay, so if we run this, let's see if this works. I've not tested this, so it may or it may not. It didn't output an error. Wonderful. So now we can pass just a single update or an arbitrary number of updates, because if we were to come in here and also say body type equals, and we'll call this, I don't know, 3. Body type equals 3. You'll notice, even if we're doing it out of order, the order does not matter, and we can send in an arbitrary number. So our body type equals 3, and our body option toggle equals false. Wonderful. Now, we don't need to do any parsing whatsoever of this on the server side. All the server needs to do is store this. And when something changes in what it's storing, it can throw out a char update. So that's all that needs to happen there. Now we have, I wouldn't necessarily say we have some time remaining. We're past where I would normally cut in a game, but I've been willing to go as long as an hour here. So we'll hop into the character creation pane here and see if we can't do a little bit of work in here as to when we are changing this content. So when these toggles go off, on value changed, we can do something along the lines of, how do we want to do this? I'm just thinking here. Well, we're going to want to have it be on the character creation screen. We might have to create a method for this. I was just wondering if there's a way to do this here. Character appearance, I don't think there is. But what we can do is we can get rid of our, or not really get rid of, but minimize our messaging section here. Our messaging section is pretty complete, and we can do something like region UI interaction. Apparently typing is really hard today. End region. And inside of here, we're going to do something like public void on update, or rather on change body type. And we're going to want to pass in an int to new selection. Okay. So we'll pass in that integer. And then we will say, can we pass in 2 things? That would be awesome if we could do on change option. I don't think this is going to work, but I would love to do this. String option. And then we would pass in the string value. That would be amazing if that worked. And then essentially, we would just do the same thing that we did down here with this for loop. So we would copy this in and paste this here. I would rename this variable from j to I because it doesn't make any sense to have it be j here when I is not taken. And this would be set to option. And this would be set to value. And then we would pass in the two here. But we might... Oh, I don't need this closing parenthesis. There we go. We might still be able to make this work. In fact, we definitely can. If this doesn't work, which I don't think it will, if we go to character creation screen, yeah, those events are not here, as expected. But if we just pass in the single string option change, like this, then we can parse this out up here the way we did down over here with the equal split. This one here. So it would be string values equals string I dot split, although we would need to pass in option change dot split on the equal. And then this would be values 0. And then this would be values 1. Like that. That should work so that we can do this generically. So if we click on the slim toggle, we want this to be in character creation screen. Actually, it's under character appearance. Why is this under character appearance? That is a really good question. Let's get rid of that. I just cut that out of there, and we're going to paste it into character creation screen, and we're going to put it right there. Excellent. And instead of options, this would be preview appearance dot options. There we go. It just makes much more sense to be on the actual character creation screen rather than in the character appearance object. Wonderful. Okay, so let's put this in here. This is going to be character creation screen dot on change option, and we are going to say that this is body type equals 0. And then for this one, we'd want to do pretty much the same thing. And I'm just going to select all of them here so that we can do this multi-editing. And we're going to grab our character creation screen dot on change option. And we're just going to set them all equal to 1 for now. And then this one will be 2. And then this one would be 3. And then this one would be 4. And then this one would be 5. So we'd have to remember to do this, of course, when we're adding in additional options. Like, for example, there was one... Let's actually go ahead and do that. To add in an option, let's test this first, and then we'll add in the option after, now that I think about it. Okay, so we go into the body type, masculine. We switch to strong. Now this should be 3 in body type. Of course, we're not sending it. Are we? Aren't we? Hang on. Why didn't that work? Let's see. Character creation screen dot on change option. Yeah. That should have worked. Why did this not change our body type? It's at 0 right now. Let's change it there. Okay. What do we got going on here? Body type equals 0. Oh, of course, I'm a moron. We have to specify the variable. Body type equals 1. For here, it's body type equals 2. For here, and let's actually unrun this. There we go. So that this saves. Body type equals 1. Body type equals 2. Body type equals 3. Body type equals 4. And body type equals 5. Okay, so let's run that. So if we're in here, it should be currently equal to 1. And it, of course, well, it's equal to 0. We didn't technically change that ourselves, though. So maybe if we change it now, it would be equal to 1. Yes, now it is equal to 1. That default changing of it did not change it. Okay. Now it's 2. Now it should be 3, but we weren't the ones that changed that. That's 5. Okay. That's 4. And that's 5. I must have this incorrect. No, that's body type equals 3. I'm guessing it's because we didn't because I auto-updated. Yeah, that's the problem. Okay. So that's fine-ish. That's going to cause potentially some issues. We probably want to make sure that these are toggled off like this, so that it just defaults to 0. And that should solve that issue. So let's check. Oh, I turned off the interactable, not the is on. Turn that interactable back on, and then is on for those 5 to off. Wonderful. So, this should be set to 0 right now. It's set to 3. Now it's set to 0. Now it's set to 2. Now it's set to 4. Okay. Fair enough. We're going to get rid of our UDP test message, if I can type. We no longer need that, and we no longer need it outputting our debug here. So technically, we don't even need anything in this start method anymore. We can just get rid of that. Our UDP test message can be gotten rid of as well. Wonderful. Now, let's talk about what happens if we wanted to add an additional body type, which I kind of do. I feel like this is not enough coverage. So, currently, obviously, it goes 1 through 6. Or rather, 0 through 5. So if we wanted to add a new one, that's fine. We can just duplicate this, and we'll call this the large toggle, because I want to add a large body type. And we're going to say that this is a masculine body of the large type. Wonderful. We'll do the same thing for feminine, and we'll call this large toggle. Excellent. And we'll call this the large feminine. Wonderful. Okay, so obviously these are currently going to be setting the body type equal to 2. Now we could have this be 3 and then we'd have to change all of these. That's an option, or we could just have it be whatever. Like, we don't actually have to have these be numbers. So we could have this be body type equals slim masculine, and that's fine. Body type equals average masculine, because this is all completely arbitrary. Body type equals strong masculine. And actually, I'm going to, just to make this a little bit more readable, I'm going to do caps on the first letter of the words. There we go. Slim masculine. Average masculine. This will be strong masculine. And this would be large masculine. Excellent. Same thing for feminine. We'll do slim feminine. That's not how you spell. Do have to make sure that we get this spelled correctly, otherwise it won't work. Average feminine. Wow, I cannot type. I'm going to have to stop here pretty soon because I think this is getting worse. And we're going to have this be strong feminine. I cannot type today. Wow, okay. Wonderful. And this is going to be large feminine. Okay. So, in theory, that's all we have to do to add new ones here is we just Control D and then change this and also change our label. I don't think I did that. I did change the labels. Okay, good. So that should be all we need to do to add more options. The server doesn't care about it. The client will just have to interpret it differently. And yeah, you can see here. We should be set to slim masculine currently, but it's not because this is default set. So if we set this, it sets it to slim masculine. And we can just have it default set to slim masculine. And if we do that, strong masculine, this is large feminine, perfect. We'll just have this be default slim masculine because that's position 0. Okay. There. And that's all it takes to add additional features or additional character select bits like this. And that's going to be how we're going to do this. It's going to be primarily identified via names, not really via numbers. So that'll make it just a little bit more flexible. Of course, we do not currently have all of this set up. This would be slightly obnoxious to set up, but we can do that. And the character creation screen would go in here, and this would be the character creation screen dot on change option, and this option would be head type equals 0, and then this would just be changing to 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, 5. We don't have any head types here, and these will probably be numbered realistically, just because what are you going to name head types? It's just different mesh shapes. This would be 10, and this would be 11. So now if we change this, we should be able to come in here and change this to strong masculine with this head toggle, and that should be toggle 10, I believe. Head type 10, body type strong masculine. Wonderful. And we're going to do that same thing. Now, this breaks down a little bit if we are going to be doing a slider, right? But that, I think, is a job for another time. We're going to have to figure out a way to pass in the slider information. Like what slider this is. This is the server. No wonder I'm not finding what I'm looking for. So in the on-change option here, we're going to need to know the slider value. And we're going to need to know... I wonder if there's a way we can do that. I'm going to look into that, and next episode, we are going to do that. So let's hop into the to-do here. We have now finished the character appearance communication architecture, and next we're going to do server-side character creation. But as part of that, I'm also committing to putting in the rest of the UI interactions for the character creator, updating the character appearance, especially for sliders. Okay, wonderful. And then if we have time, we will do character login. And that would be the next episode if we don't actually do that. So next up after that, we have our server game loop and updates, commands, which will be issued in kind of a similar method that we used here, collision detection, which is going to be interesting, and these are some of the long-term things that we're going to be working towards. These will be broken up into several different things. These are overarching ideas. These are not going to be single episodes. I can tell you that. Some of these, as it says here, many of them will be several episodes. But this is what we are going to be doing next. For now, though, you can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and I will see you all next time.